I will use aquatic system as one example. As lakes become more acidic, there's progressive loss of many kinds of organisms. The food web will be thrown off, and many organisms fail to reproduce, and many others die. And you see the picture of the dead trees, right? It kills everything. It kills the soil. It kills the terrestrial ecosystem. It kills the aquatic system. And many healthy lakes have a pH above 6, at a pH of 5.5. Many desirable species of fish are eliminated. At a pH of 5, only a few starving fish may be found, and 9 is able to reproduce, and the lakes with a pH of 4.5 are nearly sterile. The last thing I want to talk about is control of air pollution. And I put a picture of Los Angeles City here. And you can see before the Clean Air Act, which is environmental law, which is a fabulous law, was implemented. And the second half on the right side is after that law was enforced and the air quality greatly improved. So in this section of the lecture, I will emphasize on the Clean Air Act. Clean Air Act is environmental law that controls the air quality. I want to mention a little bit history. That is effective in 1963 and amended in 1965, 1967. And in the year of 1970, EPA was established. So EPA was agency enforcing that law. They did a fabulous job on this part because, air is so important. Without water, we probably survive a few days, right? Without food, it could be a few weeks. Without water, we survive a few days, and without air, we would just survive a few minutes, hopefully. So after 1970, EPA was founded. EPA kind of enforced this fabulous Clean Air Act law. They gradually have all the major air pollutants under control. And this law was amended again in 1977 and 1990. It's a gradual process. So the first they target probably PM, and then they target sulfur dioxide, they target sulfur dioxide, they target the primary pollutants first and the secondary, because it's not an easy thing to do. It's a process. But they keep polishing this law and keep enforcing this law. That's why we have clean crystal air to breathe in this country. And many people immigrate from other countries, including me. I immigrate from China. And at first, we all think this is like just natural clean air. No, it's not. It's the result of the hard work of EPA. And their responsibilities establishing standards and conducting periodic reviews of the 6 criteria air pollutants. I definitely want you to remember those: the carbon monoxide, NOSO, lead, particulate matter. You have to have those in your mind. And reducing emissions of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen, I just call NOx, that cause acid rain. So that kind of help the situation of the acid rain a lot. And reducing air pollutants such as PM, SOx, NOx. Limiting the use of chemicals that damage the stratospheric ozone layer, that is a CFC, right? The chemical we use for refrigeration before 2000. And then that CFC react with all the ozones. And we have that big ozone holes. That's why a lot of countries phase out production of those chemicals. And this is my test point again. I want you to thoroughly review this figure. This is from 1980 to 2015. And we have several curves to show you those criteria. pollutants greatly reduced after this law was enforced. Since 1970, mainly start from 1970, you can see the carbon monoxide from 100 almost to 0, and the sulfur dioxide from 100 to 20%, and sulfur dioxide from 100 to 20%, nitrogen dioxide from 100 to about 40%, the VOCs to 50%. The particles are very difficult to control, but still decrease a lot. The PM10 decreased to 60%, and 2,5 also decreased to about 60%, almost half. So if I give you this figure in the test, you should clearly point out how much they decrease. You cannot just use words like they greatly reduce. We all know that, right? Now you're an environmental scientist, you have to present your data very accurately. So I will say, hey, how about sulfur dioxide, which contributing to the acid rain? You will say, oh, till today, from 1970s, the sulfur dioxide dropped 80%. That is the way you answer in the test. So this is a major success story. I just regret I cannot be in the classroom talking more about this, but thinking about the picture I put out there. And because of enforcement of this law, environmental law, we have clean, clear air to breathe. So this is the Clean Air Act is a major success story, even in the history. And as a result, there are few major pollutants were controlled effectively. One is motor vehicle emissions, and it emits carbon monoxide, VOC, nitrogen oxide, and ozone, right? Ground level ozone. And that law have this greatly controlled. And the second group is PM. This is a study slide. You can see where they come from. They mainly from the dust mining, road construction, industrial processes, right? And because of this law, the PM emissions got effectively controlled also. I want you to understand burning of fossil fuels is another major source of PM. So it not only release the chemicals, it also release those very annoying, very harmful particles in the air also. And the power plant emissions, this is a difficult one. This is industrial companies, right? Electric power plants. They keep burning fossil fuel and release these tons of chemicals and particles in the air. So EPA have very strict standards. They demand those companies, those power plants to discharge, to release those air pollutants after they treat it. And the major controlling methods are filters and other mechanical means. So here I want to emphasize, if you treat the pollutants at the site, it's much more effective and much less expensive than you release in the air. Once you release in the air, it diffuses everywhere. It becomes a global problem, and that it is very hard to treat, right? So, however, emissions of PM, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxide from power plants have been reduced significantly. So that's the third large group of air pollutants. Nowadays, we almost come to the end. Okay, I just in the last few minutes, I want to summarize the world air pollution, and you can see the developed world is much worse than the developing world. I mean, the developing countries. And I want to mention the secondary. In the indoor air pollutants, the second-hand smoke is very harmful to people. A lot of cities, a lot of states have the smoke bans in working place, at home, in daycare, at school.